Namaste. Let's start the class. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So let's chant verses 20, 26 and 27. Number 20. Asti bhati priyam rupam nama chetyam shapanchakam adyatrayam brahma rupam jagat rupam tatodvayam. 26. Swanubhuti rasaveshat drishya shabdanupekshituhu Nirvikalpa Samadhi syat nivatasthita deepavat. That number 27, the new one. Hridiva bahya deshepi yasmin kasminscha vastuni Samadhi radya sanmatrat nama rupa prithakritihi. One more time. Hridiva bahya deshepi yasmin kasminscha vastuni Samadhi radya sanmatrat nama rupa prithakritihi. Okay. So I think what we'll do today is we had a little bit left over from last class regarding some of the obstacles to meditation. So we will look into that from the verse number 26. Then I think we will do actually a long meditation today itself, because these are meditation verses, and so the best form is to actually do the Nididhyasana. And then if time permits, then we will go over to the new verse, which is Hridihi, and Hridi is finished, Bahya Deshepi. So outside meditation versus inside meditation. So that's the sequence that we will follow. So if you recall that what it says is that now that we should know that there is a unchanging component to myself. We really look at it, your own self, as well as the world outside. So both the world inside meaning your own estimation of who you are, and the outside, your estimation of what the world is. So both of them, there is a common element which is not changing. This is what we have to understand and to grasp this for. Because right now the two are mixed up. So I have to Prithak-karanam, this also in verse number 27 also comes, that we have to distinguish. So Prithak-karanam here means not really to remove one from the other, but to distinguish. This is the Viveka. That, for example, whenever you, our classical example, that of electricity going through an appliance, it is a functioning appliance. But you have to see that in the functioning appliance, there is an electricity which is not changing. The electricity is if there is a fan moving and lots of air conditioning things going on and so on, the electricity is not moving. And then there is a movement which is different from the non-moving. So similarly, my estimation of myself needs to first understand that I have two components. One of them which is constant, and the other one which is not constant. This is what we have to do. So, in this regard, the understanding leading up to a quiet reflection on the truth of this fact leads to the meditation. And the meditation here is a gradual meditation, as we will see in the meditation today itself. So the gradual meditation means that in the beginning it will be seeing that the two parts are there. One which is non-changing and the one which is changing. Be aware of that. To make that distinction very clear to myself. Dwell on not things relationship with each other like one changing thing relationship to another changing thing relationship, but to distinguish between changing and unchanging. You see? So that's how our attention has to be. It's kind of like, you're, just as an example, supposing you are examining two kinds of gold ornaments. Like you are not sure which one you should buy, as typically happens at the time of the wedding in India, where the women folk, the mother and the girl who is getting married, would both go to the jeweler and start looking at alternative jewelry that would be suitable to her for her marriage. Should it be some kind of a necklace? Should it be a pendant? All those kinds of things. So their entire thinking is regards to the form of the jewelry. Now, it is not with respect to how gold is turned into jewelry. That is not what their thinking is. It is not their concern. But for one who wants to understand how jewelry is done, that aspect becomes important. So supposing you want to learn how to be a jeweler, there you have to find how do you melt the gold, make it into different kinds of shapes, and then cool it. And what you find is that the gold has now solidified itself into some kind of an ornament. So this is exactly what the nature of this meditation will be. Right now, when you are not meditating, you are focused on differences between one type of things with another. This is a table. Now I have to pull my chair near it. And so this is what it is. And so then here it means now examining the difference between me as the unchanging, which is the gold, equivalent to the example in the gold, and the ornaments that I am seeing myself around. So this is the first step of the meditation. Then the last, so this is what is called Savikalpaka. And Savikalpaka means with all the forms, with all the changes. And there are two types. One is the internal and the other one is the external. And the internal one has two aspects. So Drsya Anuvedhena and Shabda Anuvedhena. We've gone through all of that. So anyway, so that's the first part of the meditation. Then the second meditation is Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Nirvikalpa Samadhi means where you take the step of removing even the ornamentation from the gold and dwelling purely on gold itself, which is the unchanging. So the Atma, which is unchanging, has to be now meditated on. And so we'll discuss some aspects of that in a minute. So this is the process of the meditation. We have gone through that. This is the revision. So one thing that we are going to discuss very briefly is the obstacles to Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Because there are many obstacles, and so both in Vedanta Shastra as well as in Yoga Shastra. Because the Yoga Shastra and Vedanta Shastra are similar up to a certain point. And the differences are enormous. They're small. There appears to be a minor difference, but with major implications. And you know that by now. So we will repeat that again as we go through this today. But anyway, for both Yoga Shastra and Vedanta Shastra, there are obstacles to reaching Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So in Vedanta, they are each equivalent to the three gunas that we all have, three qualities that we have. And the three qualities, the three gunas that we have are tamas, rajas and sattva. Tamasic guna, rajasic guna and sattvic guna. So each one of those three has an equivalent obstacle that it can present. So let's just discuss that. So let's look at the obstacle given by the tamas. That obstacle means it can be looked upon in two ways. The obstacle done by tamas. One way is where you never even get there. You don't know how to. You don't have any experience, no practice. Your inability to get there is also by tamas. I don't know how to get there. I don't know how to do Nirvikalpa Samadhi. I'm still struggling with Savikalpa Samadhi, and I don't know how to get there. So this is one obstacle. This is called tamas. Another form of the tamasic obstacle is that you go to sleep. You are able to approach Nirvikalpa, but here's what happens. This is an important thing to see. You see, in the sleep, we become automatically Nirvikalpa. See, this is what I'm pointing out. So the nature of sleep is that there is no vikalpa. You and I both know it. I'm not talking about dream, but the deep sleep state is where there is no vikalpa. There's no changes or anything. It's just one pragyana ghanaha eki bhutaha. It's just one lump of I don't know. This is the sleep. Now, so what happens is that if you approach Nirvikalpa Samadhi while awake, you approach it, it appears to be like sleep. Why? Because there is a one-to-one correspondence between Nirvikalpakaha and sleep. So if you approach Nirvikalpa, sleep comes. And that is really not what we want. Well, it often happens when you are really trying to do Nirvikalpa Samadhi, pretty soon you become sleepy and you go to sleep. Your head falls like this. And in fact, in Brahma Sutra, there are sutras which says how should one meditate. And so this is discussed in great detail. So there, for example, it says you should not meditate while you're lying down. Why? Because there is another invitation to go to sleep. You don't want to go to sleep. So anyway, this is the first obstacle of going on Nirvikalpa Samadhi. Either you don't understand it at all, you never even get there, or you become one with sleep, you become sleepy. And we don't want to go sleepy because we have some negation to do. This is the problem. The sleep also is Advaita. Deep sleep is where you have absolutely no Dvaita. So the issue is not that we lack the experience of Advaita. The issue is that we do not have the knowledge of what Advaita means. Right? So this is an interesting concept to just look at it for a pause and think about it. So it's not as though you don't have the experience of Advaita, but you don't have the knowledge of Advaita. What do you mean by not having the knowledge? It is something like, you have the experience of the sunrise, but you don't have the knowledge that it is not really a sunrise as it is. This fact is discussed very clearly by Swami Dayanandji in his very famous book called The Introduction to Vedanta. One of his favorite texts, small text, called Introduction to Vedanta. So there he goes over this interplay between experience and knowledge. And so knowledge doesn't mean no experience. It means a correct interpretation of experience. And ignorance is experience also, but not the correct interpretation of the experience. That's all. So here also, sleep has Advaita. So you cannot go around saying, you know what, this Advaita, Vedanta and so on. So here's it is interesting thing. You can say, I have the knowledge of Advaita because, I've studied Tattva Bodha, and then I've studied Viveka Chudamani, then I'm doing Drg Drsya Viveka, and so now I understand what Advaita is. But here's the thing, I don't have any experience of it. So look at it both ways. On one side you say, I have the knowledge of Advaita, but I don't have the experience. On the other side, you have the experience of Advaita. You cannot say, I have no experience of Advaita, because you have it every night. But there you don't have the knowledge of Advaita. So this is what meditation, Samadhi is all about. And so we will discuss this in more detail. But still, here's the situation. You have Advaita and you can have Nirvikalpa Samadhi, but one of the obstacles to that is that you become the experience of the Advaita by going to sleep. But the knowledge that you need to interpret that Advaita is not there. So this is an obstacle. This is what an obstacle is. This is what is called akhanda vritti jnanam, which we will. These are. You have to think about this from all angles, from all sides, and until it is clear, it looks like there's a lot of questions that we have. How does it happen? How can you have knowledge without experience? All of those kinds of things have to be clarified. So here, the sleep, all I wanted to say was that the tamas can generate two kinds of problems, two kinds of obstacles. One is you don't even get there. Second one is you dissolve before you get there. Your awareness of who you are is lost, just like in deep sleep. So you become non-functional. So this is what happens. We sleep every night. We have the experience of Advaita. We have the experience of my oneness with Ishvara, but I don't have the knowledge of it. So I come back again as the same person, which is full of problems, having limitations and so on and so forth. Then I become unlimited for a while in the night time and I have the experience. So we cannot say that we don't have the experience of Advaita. We do. Anyway, I'm just giving you some commentary on that. So this is the first one. Then the second obstacle is from tamas. From rajas. First one is from tamas, the second one is from rajas. Here it means that I am not sleepy, but I am not able to hold the thought of the fact that I am an unchanging vastu, unchanging aspect of myself. My mind is just moving from place to place. And Swami Dayananda Ji used to have an example of that. Your mind is like a monkey that goes from one branch of the tree to another branch and never comes down and sits quietly. In fact, the monkey is a very good example of the way my mind works. My mind is just going around from place to place unless it has been trained. And so the inability to control the mind is the obstacle from rajas, from the rajasic. And so pretty soon you're meditating and then you say, oh my gosh, today is the last day for having this sale. Black Friday sale. So Black Friday, you are sitting down for meditation and suddenly you realize, oh my gosh, I have to buy that thing and today is the last day. Hey, don't worry about it at this point, just meditate. But your mind says, you better be careful. Don't lose this day. And so your mind now goes to, then after this meditation, then I have to get into the car or I have to make a purchase on Amazon or something like this. And so it jumps from one topic to the other. This is all due to rajas. Then comes sattva. In sattva, there is a obstacle. Normally sattva is what you want. You want the purity of your thoughts. You don't want the tamas, you don't want rajas, you want sattva. Here is where sattva can also give you the obstacle. And that is, you enjoy the peacefulness of the meditation to such a degree. You're so happy, you're so relieved at the absence of any stress in your life that you don't complete the wisdom, you don't complete the knowledge of what this happiness is. Where does it reside? So this is given in various texts. So here in Mandukya Karika, one of the very important books that we have just gone through in the morning class on Saturday morning, it says, Aswadayet sukham tatra nissangaha pragyaya bhavet. It means, may you not get caught in just simply enjoying the meditation. Because when that happens, your Viveka stops. How do we mean that by this? So this is given in a very beautiful way in the Taittiriya Upanishad as the difference between Anandamaya Kosha and Anandam. This is an important thing that we should really cross to know. We should cross over to understand. So the Anandamaya here means, so the word Maya has two meanings. One is called Vikarartha, one is called Prachuryartha. So Prachuryartha is the one that applies here, Maya. When you say Anandamaya, Anandamaya means that there is preponderance of joy. See, normally in our dealings, the joy is muted. It's not that much. But if you were to focus on the Ananda and you are able to be successful at it, then the joy increases. You are able to taste your own. So this is what is called rasa aveshat. We went through all of this, the definition of avesha in the last class. So there is a flooding of rasa, flooding of ananda. And you feel very blessed and you say, wow, I'm so happy I'm able to do this. I never knew this could be discovered, but now I have it. And as a result of that, you don't go any further. Any further means that there is a distinction between Anandamaya and Ananda Swarupa. So in the Taittiriya Upanishad also, there is a section where it talks about Ananda, Priyameva Shiraha, Modo Dakshinav Pakshaha, Pramoda Uttarav Pakshaha, Ananda Atma Brahma Pucham Pratishtha. It says in the Taittiriya Upanishad. So it says there is a gradation of Ananda. And then you can say that I am the Ananda Maya. I am very happy. I am very peaceful. This is all I want. I wish I could do this. Why is it not the final part of the journey? Because as an Ananda Maya, it is not the Ananda Swarupa. It is not the actual nature of Ananda. It is a temporary closeness to Ananda which will go away. This is where we differ from the yogic practices, because in this, if you stop at Anandamaya, that also you are very happy with, and then it comes to an end. This is why this is not the final destination. Then what is the final destination? The final destination comes from understanding that my nature is unabridged Ananda, unlimited Ananda. I am the very nature of Ananda, which cannot go away. If it's the experience that it can come and go, then it is not the common, that is not the exact understanding. So this is what the obstacle of sattva is. And I can just tell you because in my life also, we all go through this. Anybody that has studied on Vedanta will go through this, certainly in my life also, where I was happy just to discover a way of being happy. And there I didn't go any further. And if I went further, it was not really that practiced very well. I'm not able to achieve that until slowly it is occurring. I'm still getting there. But now I'm beginning to feel that my old experience of Ananda was insufficient for freedom. I have to see my own nature as that being free. And that requires some other steps to do. We will go through that, all of that. So anyway, all I wanted to do was to point out the inherent obstacles to Nirvikalpa Samadhi, which has been well catalogued, and it has different sources, different reasons, different experiences, and then we have to understand it. And Yoga Shastra also has similarly all these kinds of obstacles to talk about. So with that, as I mentioned before in the beginning of the class, let us do today the steps of the Samadhi, and maybe we'll do this several times, again and again, so that we begin to become more skilled in the Nididhyasanam. Here, Samadhi here means the Vedantic Samadhi, which is Nididhyasanam. So at least let's do some actual Nididhyasanam. Okay? So, with that, let me turn these bright lights that are shining in my eyes. Namaste astu Bhagavan Vishveshwaraya Mahadevaya Triambakaya Tripurantakaya Trikalagnikalaya Kalagnirudraya Neelakanthaya Mrityunjayaya Sarveshwaraya Sadashivaya Sriman Mahadevaya Namaha. So we can begin the meditation by doing a sankalpa. Sankalpa is a statement about the meditation, a framing of the meditation in the form of instructions to my own mind. And the sankalpa will be for this meditation I would like to make a distinction between the unchanging I and the various changes that are imposed on this unchanging I. O mind, I am just telling you ahead of time, this is what I want to do. Do a viveka between myself as the Brahman, the unchanging Brahman, asti bhati priyam rupam, and the changes, apparent changes to Brahman. Jagat rupam, the form of various experiences. Now, I begin with Savikalpa, Drsya Anuvittha. I do a meditation as a witness to the various forms that appear in me. I see the changes in my physical form. I see the physiological changes supporting my physical form. I feel the air entering my lungs. I see and feel the breath going in and out. I feel my body relaxing. Getting rid of the tension. I see and hear the sounds In all these cases, including my thoughts, I see a relationship between myself as the seer the hearer, the feeler, and the objects. My body, the sounds, the thoughts, this triad I'm aware of. The triad of the hearer, the sound, and the process of hearing. The triad of the feeler, felt, and the feeling. The seer, the seeing, and the seen. I see that this triad comes and goes. If there is a sound, it invokes the hearer in me. A thought invokes the thinker in me. So the triads, the various triads are changing. But my awareness of the triads is not changing. The triads of thinker, thoughts and thinking, etc., evolves out of unchanging awareness and dissolves back into it. Without any efforts, I remain the same pure awareness. As the very content the very support of all triads. I am the very formless, self-existing, self-aware, content of all the triads. Now I have no beginning, no changes, no stopping. I am. I am the nature of awareness. I am aware. I am and aware. Peaceful, the very nature of Ananda, peaceful joy. Unlimited, Anantam, not limited by the triads. The triads, so-called Triputi, starts in me, is sustained by me, and dissolves in me. But my own presence, unchanging presence, is always there. Triads, do not have the same reality as me. Triads are like ornaments. They can come and go, but I, as the gold of the ornaments, has nothing to do with the triads. Om. 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 Shanti, Shanti. Shanti. So through this meditation, the near Nirvikalpa Samadhi, it may be Nirvikalpa for some of us, may not be, doesn't matter, but this is the direction. You can see the difference between Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the formless Samadhi, and sleep, deep sleep. And the differences are not in the experience, but in the knowledge. The experience remains the same between sleep and samadhi. In both cases, there is an absence of the triads, Triputi. There is no thinker, thought, thinking. No seer, seen, seeing. No feeler, felt, feeling. Nothing. In both of them. That is the nature of the Nirvikalpa Atma. Asti bhati priyam. Both cases, both in the case of deep sleep as well as in samadhi. But the difference is that in the samadhi, you have the knowledge that this is in fact the case. You are not tinged, you are not touched by ignorance of this fact. You can see clearly, and this needs to be done again and again so that you are sure of this. It is repeatable, and like a scientific experiment, you know what science does is they do not accept anything until it is repeatable. This also is repeatable. You can see through the practice of Nirvikalpa Samadhi that the Triputis, the triads, are really nothing, not there. Because they are changing, they come and go. But you are the unchanging awareness, Asti Bhati Priyam, Brahma Rupam. This is knowledge. And this changes things completely. Because just the mere experience of Advaita, Advaita means non-duality, Nirvikalpa. Just the experience of Advaita doesn't change things. It just gives you a little pause, a little freedom from problems, and it's a gift from Ishvara. You become one with Ishvara. But the Nirvikalpa Samadhi, where you slowly dissect your experiences and your life, and you look at the difference, the Viveka between the changes and non-changes is done very consciously. This leads to freedom. And to sustain the freedom, what needs to happen, and this is the main distinction between Vedantic Samadhi and Yogic Samadhi, is that even if you are not in this closed eyes state, this status of Viveka between the changing and the non-changing never goes. So that is the next state of the Samadhi. So this is very much like a taste of it for a while, but even when you are coming out of this so-called controlled Samadhi, eventually you will see that the distinction between the unchanging and the changing never goes away. That distinction stays in your mind all the time. So we will proceed along those lines. There is a verse which says, Yatra yatra manoyati tatra tatra samadhayaha. I think it's number, 30 something. We will come to that. So that's the culmination of the next step, where whether you are sitting there with your eyes closed or you're walking around, talking, writing things or so on, this distinction remains with you all the time. So this is the process of Nididhyasana that we will continue with it. So with that, I close the class, and let's do a prayer and then we'll talk a little bit more. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. So as I had mentioned, that next week, a week from today, on the 26th, we will not have a class, and this is in honor of the Christmas and New Year's holiday season, and so we will not have a class next Saturday. And then when we reconvene on the 2nd of January, we will just have a combined class, just talking a little bit about starting the new year, and that I will send you the details of it, but it will be at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 9 to 10:30. And it will not be on Drg Drsya Viveka, but some general topics combined between all three classes. And so the next Drg Drsya Viveka class will resume on January 9th, the Saturday. So that's how we will proceed. So let me see if there's any questions that I can answer. Good. Thank you all for tuning in, and I don't see any questions here, so my best wishes to you for a very happy holiday season. Stay safe, and we will look forward to seeing you in the new year. Om.